Brad Stern for a while.
Fred-
Bob Schumann and
Fred was their son.
Fred was the son who got killed. And,
Jack's age, maybe?
Mary?
Fred Schumann? Mary Schumann, no, that was related.
Okay.
So, what celebrations did they have?
well, this May Day, which is still have a little bit of it, started in
May Day started when, do you know?
48, maybe?
my
45.
my sister was one of the first ones to run for the Queen, and there
I
were
think
5 of them.
45.
Oh.
6.
And it's the year she graduated from high school, which would have been about 48.
And it's still going, and that's pretty good.
So it started at about 48.
So, what all things did they have in the old days with May Day?
You know, a bunch of the older guys would be in the parade. Buck Burns, do you remember Buck Burns?
Well,
He ran the warehouse for the Garfield Union warehouse.
oh,
And he was Linda Burns and Dixie's dad. That guy, he'd get a broom and he'd paint a horse's head on it, and he'd ride that broom down the street. And he was the highlight of the parade.
is that right? Oh my.
He would jump up and down, and he was just a kick. And the old guy that owned the tavern at that time, his name was Lonnie Frey. My best friend was Dickie Frey, and
His brother?
his son.
Oh,
And Lonnie, he'd dress up in a clown suit, and he was in the parade.
Oh.
And most of them were walkers, and it'd be 4 or 5 blocks long.
my goodness, wow.
You know, it just. But I don't remember a lot more about it.
Well, I remember when I was growing up, it was an actual contest, you know, for the kids to have some special thing. Remember
Yeah,
how?
as it wore.
Decorating bikes and all that.
Yes, right.
As it
Dressing
wore
up.
down a little, they had to keep coming up with more ideas
Well, always
to
a
get
dance.
people to
Always
participate.
a dance.
Oh, dancing
And it
in
was
the
a
evening,
dance.
right? And then my sister, I remember she was in the maypole dance by the Grange.
Yeah, Maple.
And it went to motorcycle races at times,
Yeah,
or
right.
rodeos at times.
Demolition derbies.
Demolition derbies. It changed,
Oh.
whatever. It did a lot of different things.
So that was the main town holiday. Town holiday. I remember at Christmas when the fire truck would come and
Santa Claus comes to town.
give candy to all the kids, and we go into the Grange and watch a movie.
Yeah, that's, we participated in that somewhat, but not as much as other things. So I don't remember that as well.
So what did you participate in?
Well, like the May Day parade, anything we could help with.
Well, we had a run for a few years. Remember that?
I was in it.
Yeah.
I won it for my age group.
That's great.
Yeah.
I was in it too, and I remember they made a great big finish sign that people came through in the park. One year Ray made it.
Wow, that was
And-
really fun. Up and down the hills.
It was 3-mile run?
3-mile run, yeah.
Yeah, over every hill in town, and we had 150 runners one year because I was on the committee to buy the T-shirts,
She
and
kind of ran the thing.
I still have one of those T-shirts.
I do too.
That was great.
And the Boy Scout breakfast and that.
Yes,
kind of
always a
thing.
Boy Scout breakfast.
And what else went on that day?
That's been the main thing is the Boy Scout breakfast every year, and it's still going.
And then it went to the park with music and vendors.
Oh, right. Well, I remember a lot going on at the Grange area
Mm-hmm.
back when I was a kid. So then there was a Christmas thing. Anything else that happened? I know a lot of school events
Sports.
and
Yeah,
sports.
Sports,
A lot of
sure.
sports.
Which ones were you in, Ray?
Very few of them.
Yeah. How about you? Were you
I was a smartaker,
Well, band. I was probably in the band. Ray was
Yeah.
been on probably played football. They had regular.
I know, yeah.
They didn't have very good coaches, you know, if some teacher had an extra period to prep, they'll say, you be the girls' coach.
Yeah. That's where it goes.
But that's okay, that's the way things were, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And in girls' basketball, you had half the court, it
Right.
was all, some people didn't, you know, they had, anyway, 5 players on each side, and
Okay, I remember the jail. Was it always in the library?
oh, the jail.
Yes, it was.
My goodness.
It was, and I would have hated to spend any time in there.
It
But,
didn't
but
look
I,
very
but I
pleasant.
was the police judge for I think your dad was the mayor.
Remember, he was out of town and he came back to be notified he got elected to be mayor.
Great.
Fritz Williams was mayor, your dad was mayor, Bill Burns was mayor. And anyway, your dad and Fritz, I was fire chief for 24 years too. And,
This is Mr. Volunteer.
and,
Oh, my
so
goodness.
then, because it paid $100 a year
Wow, big time.
to be
I thought it was a volunteer, that's not volunteer, that's not a
I
nonprofit.
didn't. I had to make money at everything.
What did you do for a living?
Everything.
I was a builder.
He was a builder, licensed.
Started remodeling and,
Did you work with Malin much? Or-
no, I didn't. We got married, moved to Spokane for a few months then. And Dave Neal was just getting started.
What kind of business did he have?
He was building levelers for John Deere combines.
Mm.
And it was very successful for the first three to 4 years.
Got a patent.
And then
Ray was the bookkeeper for him.
Oh.
then John Deere, they wanted him to build to their specifications, and he didn't want to do that, so he started building his own combine,
Oh.
and it really hurt him.
Mm.
Was that the
Financially.
self-leveler?
Yeah, and anyway,
Yeah.
we moved back here, and I went to work, and I worked there for 5 years. And he went from doing very well to almost financially bad. I mean, it just broke him really, and then of course he passed away. But in that time, his wife was the bookkeeper at the place, and she came down with
Tuberculosis.
tuberculosis.
Oh, that's
And
awful.
had to go to wherever that is for almost a year.
Hmm.
So then I was the bookkeeper there, so I really learned a lot in doing that.
Zeta had TB?
She did.
Oh, this was Zeta Neal that had
Zeta.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
spent a year in a sanitarium in Spokane.
Oh.
Oh,
TB sanitariums were everywhere.
I know. Yeah, we have.
You know, it's not nice to say things about, but those were the two most opposite people I ever knew,
Who?
Dave and Zeta.
Really?
She was so tight. She was tight as the bark on a tree. And Dave was just the biggest heart guy.
Yeah.
And she wore
They had
the,
his son killed in a hunting accident.
Oh, no.
the green coat, Ray.
I'll get to that. And, they went, he and 3 other kids went out pheasant hunting or something one evening, and he came, gunned down outside the car
Mm.
and killed him instantly.
Oh, dear.
And he was exactly like his dad, and Archie was exactly like his mother. He just squeezed a nickel until it couldn't scream any louder.
I remember going to Zeta's house when I was a kid. Archie must have been at college. And I was playing with Kay, his niece or something. And she was visiting, and we would play Archie's records. And one of them, I remember, when you leave your chewing gum on the bedpost overnight.
Oh yeah, that was our song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, no, Zeta, well, I worked there for 5 years. And then Dave passed away and she lived off the company for, well, must have been 15 years after that. And all the time I knew her, she wore one coat. It was just a kind of a green coat, and she wore that from the time I went to work there until she passed away.
Wow,
And-
thrifty.
And
Those
They-
are the thrifty, they used everything up.
they had one car
Hmm.
in the entire time that I
Well,
was.
that house was little, remember
I
that
remember
tiny
it was
little
very
house?
little house, yes.
I don't know how 4 people lived in that little house.
There should be
It was like
talking,
this,
talking
it
about
was,
people here recording it.
That's all right. I don't think there's anything negative.
It's,
And they're just different personalities.
But
yeah, but she was lovely in her way. She taught Sunday school and,
But
Took
Dave
care
was
of
just
the
a
4th grade
super guy.
teacher's child.
And Archie turned out to be one of my best friends.
So, how many churches? Were there always there was the Catholic,
Well, there's one down here where Tate's Trucking is at. There was, a Nazarene church was there when I was a kid. Then there was the one down here that's now the community church. I think it was called the Presbyterian Church
Yeah, earlier.
at that time.
and the
And
Catholic.
then the Catholic Church was right above the hill. And
the
the
Methodist
Methodist
Church,
Church and the
Christian church.
Christian Church. Any others?
And I think there was one more.
Really?
Episcopal?
What was
Was
that?
there another one?
Episcopal? Did you have an
I
Episcopal?
don't think we had an Episcopal church.
Baptist, I know, is here. Nazarene.
But there were
is on
4 pretty solid for a long time. Then the Presbyterian Church closed up. And then
Did it become Nazarene?
yes, after
Or
it's
Assembly
not
of God.
empty.
Then the Assembly of God.
Then there's
My
Assembly of
sister
God.
remembers being in, when we were kids, it being Nazarene, when we would go there in the evening and the Methodist in the morning.
It stayed empty for probably 15 years, really, before another one had closed and they took it over.
So now it's the Assembly of God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, let's see. When did the Grange get started here?
The Grange,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was going in must have been in the 20s and the 30s. It was before my time. I mean, it was here when I.
So what other type of organizations were here?
Well, there was.
Pythian sisters
What in the world are the Pythian sisters?
and the Rebecca's and the
Rebecca Lodge was women. Oddfellows
Oddfellows and Pythian sisters.
were men. The
That
Legion,
sounds scary. I never was in any of the buildings.
There was what, the auxiliary?
The
Legion.
the Legion,
Oh.
and then the auxiliary was
Was the women
the
probably?
women's part of the Legion.
Yeah.
Masons and Eastern Star.
Yeah, Masons and Eastern and Rainbow
Yeah,
Girls.
Masons, Rainbow. There was plenty of things to go to if you wanted to go.
I don't remember anything being in operation except the Grange and the Masons. I mean, and Rainbow Girls and Eastern Star when I was a kid.
They kind of slowed down out there.
With TV, with the advent
Yeah.
of television.
Television came in then and
Well, there were bridge clubs.
around the world.
Well, there were bridge clubs,
That's
right?
fantastic.
And
2 of
what
them.
else?
Yeah, bridge clubs.
And what else? Pinochle? Or that-
Well,
people just played
a
that?
couple of bowling clubs. Your mother was on a bowling with G.
Oh, is that right?
What was the building Ray that had the spittoon in it? That gross building. What was
the
that
pool
called?
hall.
Oh, there's a pool hall.
Oh, my sister remembers that. Scared her.
Me too. I didn't like it.
Pool
Interesting.
room,
And
yeah.
meat market and,
Bill Fennell, when I had the pool room for years.
And it just had pool.
did people
They,
go
they
play
played,
cards?
They played pool, and it like 6 pool tables, and they played cards, all kinds of cards, poker, and in the summertime, these guys would come down. You'd walk in the pool room, there'd be 10, 15 guys in there playing cards.
Poker?
They, I think he can sell wine, but I don't think he can sell beer. Uh, I never spent a lot of time in there. Uh,
Starts with P and it rhymes with T and that stands for trouble.
yeah.
That's
And,
right.
Well, I went through the tavern a lot
There's your phone, Carol.
because my friend's parents owned it.
And that was always Grumpy's or called?
Oh no, it was,
Hi,
back then it
this
was
is
Frey's
Carol
Tavern.
there,
Oh.
interviewing Ray here. And
Frey's Tavern. And,
well,
So, did they have a barber shop back in the
Do you want me
day?
to
it
stay
had,
closer
I think
this
there
way?
were 3, I know there were at least 3 and I think maybe 4
Oh,
barber shops.
there was one beauty shop I recall. Were there more in that?
Yeah, maybe 5.
And it seems like they delivered milk when I was a kid. Did they do that?
Farmers did.
I think
And
well,
strawberries.
years ago,
Oh,
as you go between here close, the old round roof barn that caved in, it's still there, but it's caved in. That was
Oh, I want it. It's more comfortable like this
that was
too.
a dairy. Shoemaker, Steve Shoemaker,
oh, and he still lives in Palouse.
And he
and
still
his
is.
granddad
Oh,
delivered milk door to door.
And strawberries in summer.
there was a lady down the street from us that sold honey, I remember, from the old house down on the highway.
Was that Mrs. Griffin?
Yes, uh-huh.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. She had a little farm out but halfway to Farmington, and she and her husband were the first Adventists
Oh,
that I knew, because we had a stationary thresher machine. We went around and we thrashed crops for different people, and one year they had a really good crop of lentils. That was some of the first lentils in the country.
well, it became really big here in the
Very,
Palouse.
very big, and I don't think they had any children, I can't remember, but I know I was in high school, and I'd go pull the equipment out there, and then I'd help run it, and they were very fussy about any weed seed or anything coming in on that. They'd take the garden hose out and wash everything off. Clean it up before they'd let you pull on their place. And
Oh,
they didn't want any thistles or.
Good for them.
It's
okay, let me see where, so you were probably the longest serving mayor in Garfield.
most likely, that's,
In and out, in and out.
I started in, see, your dad was in there. And then Bill Burns took over. I think Bill Burns took over, you did. And we just bought the hotel here. And
Bill Burns bought the hotel?
no, I did.
Oh, you bought the hotel.
Gene and I, we bought the old hotel. It's still there. We worked on it then.
On the same side of the street as the gift store, right?
Right, yeah.
Opposite of where the Nook was.
Yeah. And so I went down and it was flooding, the town was flooding. And the water was running into the furnace room. And so the next council meeting, I went down and I asked the council, I said, why don't you guys dredge the creek? I said, this is about the 3rd time it's flooded. And I said, they used to dredge the creek about every 5 years, and then we never had any trouble. And Bill Burns leaned back in his chair and he said, well, I live on a hill, I don't have to worry about it.
Oh dear. I remember going with Dad. I was pretty little when it flooded.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a really high flood.
It was.
And I remember I was in first grade and took my swimming suit in case I heard the toilets flooded and I pictured. Anyway, so when did you start as mayor?
So that's
Well,
what prompted him to start.
That flood, huh?
That's
Oh,
what,
I see.
that council meeting, I decided, well, if we've got idiots like that who's running our town, I think I'll run for mayor.
Good for you.
which I did, and I won quite handily, and then I was in there,
Who did you run against?
Bill Burns.
Oh, okay.
I was in there for 16 years then,
So,
and then I was in another, then Gene Bridge got in, and then I ran again, and then,
Gene Bridge was a barber, right?
yeah, and he was my clerk, and the state told him he couldn't be clerk any longer, and he just was making too many mistakes. And so he ran for mayor against me, and he got out and campaigned like crazy and won by 1 or 2 votes.
Was it a paying job? Why did he want to be mayor?
$75 a month.
Oh, I see.
And you know, he was getting $100 a month for being clerk.
So it almost would have made up for it.
Right, so that's what he was looking at.
Oh, huh.
And,
So did anybody ever go to that jail?
as I start to say,
Tell
I was
the
also
story.
I was also the police judge.
Oh my.
I was the fire chief, the police judge, 3 things.
Well, you're a good man to know.
Mayor.
And if I couldn't be mayor and those other things.
Oh, really?
But anyway, Jack Carmack was the cop.
Oh, I remember that name.
He was a big, husky guy, drove around in an old car.
It was kind of after it was later.
Yeah, and I think so. And Jim Perkins was in high school. You know Jim.
Oh, yes.
And Jim was just a little bit wild. And so one night, Jack called me and he said he gave this kid a ticket. And the kid wondered if he could go to court. And he had him in jail.
Oh, so Jim Perkins was the only one that ever went in that jail.
So we went down and we had court, and Jim said, "Oh," he said, "No, I won't. I'll go home, go to bed. I'll be good. I don't do anymore." He went out and he stepped on it and spun the wheels, and the gravel flew and out right in front of the fire station there, or it's City Hall now. And so I said, "Well, Jack, I guess you're going to have to pick him up." And so he went and he picked him up and he threw him in jail and left him all night.
Oh my.
And I would have hated to. And one other kid from Plouse came along and he told me, he said, "Well, I haven't got any money, I'll just have to lay it out." Well, at that time we were sending him to Colfax.
What did he do? He got arrested or something?
Yeah, and he got reckless driving or
Oh.
something driving. Anyway, it was for laying it out. You got paid $3 a day,
Oh.
and so so this kid, he said, "Oh, I haven't got any money." He said, "I'll just have to lay it out." I said, "Fine." Sent him to Colfax. There's not quite 24 hours till he called me and he says, "Can I get out of here? Can I pay the